Hello and welcome to the Road to Worlds, and this is it. This is the championship edition. About 20 years ago, Decipher produced a little card game with the Star Trek license, and we're still here today, and we're celebrating the 20th anniversary. Our World Championship is coming up just next weekend. At GenCon in Indianapolis, and we're going to be talking about that in just a few moments. We've also got a Continental Championship to recap, and I have a whole bunch of guests here, so I'm going to jump right in. Let's get everyone introduced. First, of course, is my co-host, who has been here throughout the regional season, all of the regional rundowns, and the Continental shows. Greg Dillon. Back with us.
Hello.
How are you this week?
I'm good this week. I'm really looking forward to Worlds and reading about it on the forums and whatnot.
Sounds good. Greg is the only one on the panel tonight that is not actually going to be at Worlds. However, I did a little research. He does actually have a world title to his credit, so he's got some credentials at least.
Right, he does.
He does have a Tribbles World Championship, so so been there, done that. Also, back on the show this week is from Minneapolis, of course, representing the Big Goodbye, Chris Sonsteby.
Hey, good to see everybody.
And he will be at GenCon next weekend, competing, of course, for 2E. And will you be playing both editions, first and second?
I'm mostly going for first edition. I'll be playing 2E kind of as a joke.
Cool.
That means you're gonna win, right?
Of course.
And then yeah. And then also with us is the. Of course, the chairman of the continuing committee, Charlie Plain.
Hi.
Good to have you here as always.
I am fortunate to have been off work early enough to make it. So.
Nice.
And probably the busiest guy on the site this week.
Yeah.
GenCon Panic is in full gear. I have already started my rapid caffeine consumption. I mean, by this point next week, they're going to have an IV hooked up to me to keep me alive. It's crazy. I've got so much to do and so much that I forgot to do. Gen Con is a lot of work. I really should... I mean, there's enough planning to go on that we could have, like, a staff of 5 people start working, a month after this year and probably still need to... still be busting. So I'm going to probably recruit a team of people to do this from now on, because it's just gotten to the point where it's too much for one person to handle. But
And in doubt,
I am got a lot of good people who are going to be volunteering, and a lot of good people that have been helping me. So we're gonna get there, even if some things happen last minute. So
sounds good, and I'm certainly looking forward to talking about it. And we've got one other person on the panel. He's having some connection issues and is not on with us right this moment, but hopefully he'll be able to jump back in with us shortly. Neil Matthew is also with us, coming over from Europe, and of course awake at. To be on the show with us, so hopefully he can come back on and talk to us shortly. But in the meantime, before we get into Gen Con, of course, we've got a Continental Championship to discuss. European Continentals was weekend before last, and we did not have a show last week, so we're going to talk about it now. I had a brief report sent to me from Nick Yankovic, who, of course, was running the events over there, and he wanted me to point out some highlights from European Continentals. He said that they had free ice cream at the venue. He said that might have been a mistake from the venue. He wanted it mentioned that despite the controversy on the boards over European Continentals weekend, no Trek players or hotel staff were offended during the Continentals. So I guess they must have reined in Neil enough that he didn't piss off any of the staff.
Speak of the devil, there he is. I think, maybe.
Maybe. He's trying to come back to us. And Nick also mentioned that looking at Stefan Slavy's deck, that his second edition Ferengi deck that he brought, he called it a snowball of unstoppable might. That is a direct quote. He says it pretty much owned every deck except for Tobias's Romulan build, and he did mention that Stefan played against 3 Romulan decks in the qualifying rounds.
That's been our experience here. Freed and Henry, his son, have both been playing Ferengi in home games, table game, playing at home with the rest of us. Nat's tried it too. We've all thought that it was really solid if you can get a good draw. I don't know how Stefan always got a good draw with that many events in it. We've been playing at smaller events, more people, less events, but it's a pretty solid deck.
Can you hear us, Neil?
You sound beautiful. Can you hear me?
You sound much better.
Oh, I've never actually sounded worse in my life.
We
Just
were
came back from a night. Oh,
we were just saying that Nick pointed out that at European Continentals that no Trek players or hotel staff were offended over the course of the weekend. So how did they keep you reined in, sir?
I actually keep myself reined in. I actually had to keep Paddy, case on pad, reined in a little bit. It was my idea originally to give everyone nicknames, but then we kind of took it a little bit further, and no one was offended there. And I did say, me and Paddy, we both said in the thread that we do apologise, for offence caused, and in the future, if anything like that was to happen again, it would be in a different forum with a warning. But no, everyone had an amazing time. The atmosphere was fantastic at the European Continentals.
Yeah, we were just about to get into results. If I remember right, I think they ran triples on the first day. I think they ran that on Friday night. Just 7 players for triples. I guess perhaps not everyone was in town yet. But for completeness' sake, Will Hoskin won the triples event, and yep. Nope, former world champion. Yeah, he won the Continentals over there. He's actually coming to GenCon, so he's gonna get if he's playing in triples, which I'm sure he is, he's gonna get a nice 200,000 head start in the event. Stefan Slavy was the runner-up, so if he ends up playing, that's a 100,000 head start for him as runner-up for the Continentals event. So congratulations to both of them.
Oh yeah, someone needs to teach me how to play triples, because I've put my name up for the World Championships and I haven't got a clue what I'll be doing.
Well, it's not hard, and there will be plenty of people on hand that can teach you, and also they've got triples at 10 o'clock every night of GenCon up until Sunday for Worlds. So there will be plenty of opportunities to practice.
Excellent.
and
So send your girlfriend, try and win her a tribble.
Dan will have plenty of loaner decks to loan out for those triples events. So
Oh,
Yeah.
don't let any lack of preparation or skill or experience stop you. It never stops me. So
I remember that from last year. He ended up giving a lot of decks away. He taught some new players. There were pickup triples games happening continuously throughout Gen Con too. So I was just whenever there were a bunch of people together, like, hey, let's play some triples. It happened.
I'll be
So-
kicking about, so thanks for letting me borrow a deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was triples. So second edition was on Saturday, and 14 players turned out for two European Continentals, and let's see, top 8 made it to day 2. Tobias Rausman was the top seed going into day 2, playing a Romulan deck. Stefan Slaby was second highest with a Ferengi deck, and those two, that is also how they placed in day 2. Tobias was the winner of day 2, and Stefan came in second place. So Tobias, after winning a couple of regionals, I think, and 2 national events this year, is now also the European Continental Champion. And that is also a Romulan sweep of Continentals this year.
Yeah, 3 different Romulan decks. I don't know how similar Tobias's was to Ben's, but it obviously wasn't the same as Neil's.
yeah,
Extremely similar.
Can
I know
we
that,
talk about this? Can we talk about this for a little bit? Because
Yeah.
I already, there's already starting, and one
What
can
needs
watch
to
it.
be fixed?
Yeah, the what needs to be fixed discussion, and one can infer that with 3 major event victories, they're the odds-on favorite to win next week. At the very least, they're going to be played. They're going to be played a lot.
Certainly.
So you also have to figure there's going to be people running anti-Romulan stuff. But I just want to say what Chris said is extremely important. You have at least 2 radically different decks. You know, it's not like the same deck plus or minus 10 cards won all 3 of these events. They're very different builds, all won by top players, top or reasonably skilled players. And let's be honest, Tobias and Neil for sure. I don't know Ben very well, but I assume if he's good enough to win Continentals, he's good enough to win Continentals with just about anything. I don't think Romulans are like way above the power curve. They're really just not. They're good, but they're hard to play, and good players are always going to be able to pilot decks to success, no matter what they're playing. I mean, I think there are reasons the Romulans are popular this year. I think that a big part of it is, you know, Starfleet, Borg, and Klingon all got eroded. You know, so naturally you start talking about, the Romulans are good, they're going to be eroded, and maybe they will be, but you know, I don't think there's an obvious. I don't think you can look at. Let's take the European and Australian Romulan deck, because they're pretty much the same deck. I don't think you can point to one card in that deck and say this is the problem that needs to be fixed. You know, you can go a couple different routes that way, and you know, I'm certain that there are ongoing discussions about Romulans. I know that we've had discussions about it in design. I know that in a upcoming 2E set, we cut a couple Romulan cards just because it's like they don't really need this right now, you know, and it's definitely something that we're talking about. But I just, everybody, please, nobody freak out that Romulans won 3 Continentals. Yes, that's interesting and it's worthy of discussion, but I don't think it's panic time. You know, let's not start.
I think a couple years ago, people were saying the same thing about the Klingons too, and you know, and from me, from my standpoint of only being in the game for a couple years, one of the things I did was I went back and looked through all the virtual sets that have come out since Trek CC started making cards, and I noticed that there are very few virtual Klingons that have been added, and like I got the sense that that it was just assumed, well, Klingons are very strong. They really don't need the help. There are always going to be those affiliations that are consistently at the top of the power curve, but they have to be played well. Like they can't just be picked up and played by anybody. Like it has to be somebody that knows what they're doing. And
Well, I
I
mean,
think
sorry, but that's very true. I mean, you take the Klingon deck that was running around a couple years ago.
That was 2 years ago. Everybody picked up Riker's Sword and was playing it over regional season.
Well, but even if you go back to like the Ben Haas, Neil Timmons one,
3 or 4 years ago,
like it's a bad player with a good deck isn't going to win events, but a good player with a bad deck can still win events. You know, and I think that gets glossed over a lot. It's, you know, a lot of people talk about the decks that win, but ignore the player that's playing them, and I think that's dangerous. You know.
Well, and it's a little bit of flavor of the month too. I mean, my experience in the CC era is you have somebody who wins with XYZ deck, and then you have 4 people playing it the next month, and then 20 people are playing it 2 months later.
that's that's a symptom of the internet.
But I mean, you're gonna have those decks win more when more people are playing them.
Sure.
If everybody's not showing up with their own deck that they built in their own basement or whatever, you're gonna have those decks win.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like maybe next year, it's possible. Like Stefan came second with Ferengi. If all the good players like Neil and everyone that won Continentals this year or placed highly, if they all decide to play Ferengi next year, then Ferengi will start winning Continentals.
Yeah, it could happen. Nick did want to point out that he like broke down what affiliations were played and which ones qualified and how they turned out. And out of 14 decks in 2E, 5 people brought Romulan. 2 of them qualified. One was the top seed, and I think one was like 7th. And then the other 3 were at the bottom half. So it really does have a lot to do with who's playing it, and I think some of it ends up being matchups.
Yeah, there's a couple of Romulan decks missing. So I don't know about them, but at least Thomas Schneider's was similar to Tobias's, and he lost to 2 relativity decks in his last 2 games, which meant he finished 9th instead of getting the top 8. Mm-hmm. Whereas Tobias beat the relativity. So, like you said, bad matchups, and then he's just gone.
But that's one of the beauties of Trek. I mean, there are good and bad matchups, and it's not rock paper scissors. Like there have been points in this game's history where it was rock paper scissors, and that sucked. That was one of the reasons we changed Legacy. It turned the game into rock paper scissors. It's not that case right now. It's you've got a really strong Romulan deck with a kill pile that is weak to relativity because they don't care if there are people in the discard pile, and then you've got a Bajoran micro team deck that's really strong if you're not running anything that cares about micro teaming, but if you run Transport Crash Survivor, it has a lot harder time, and it's just there's always that give and take. And it especially at these high-level events, it's as much or more about playing the meta as it is the individual games. And to me that's fascinating. That's one of the most fascinating aspects of CCGs.
Yeah, well, you've got 16. I guess with the headquarterless affiliations, you've got like 18 or 19 now different choices. Even before you figure in dual HQ options, there are that many options for a reason.
Well, and to Charlie's point too, you have a strong deck, and you have people who are trying to fight fire with fire. I think some of the day 2 decks that I've looked at look like they're adding cards that kind of get away from their deck's main goal, to try to combat something they might see. And my thought all along is, where's the speed? All right, you want to play your slow-ass Romulan deck. What if you play against a deck that's attempting on its 3rd turn or even its 2nd turn? Like, no one played straight speed. If you starve your deck of verbs, that Romulan player is not going to have anything to download.
Yes.
You know, it becomes interesting gamesmanship where it's like, do I play this? These are the voyages to let you download whatever you want, or do I sacrifice that that throughput to keep you from dropping it? You know,
Okay.
it's interesting. You know, and I'm not sitting here saying that nothing will change for Romulans. I tend to think that there's at least one, if not two, more obvious cards to look at. But and something that you mentioned earlier, Daniel, that's very true, is like the best players are always going to find the best cards. They're always going to find the best cards. And I think some people forget this. You know, some people are like, oh, if you just errated an issue of trust in GOM2, the game would be perfectly balanced. And I'm like, no, it just means two other dilemmas become the best dilemmas that everybody uses, and you see it over and over and over again. I'm sure, but I'm not belittling people. I mean, the competitive players are always going to be drawn to the best cards. Period. That's just the way it is. And no costing system is 100% perfect. You know, the three has a wide span of threes. Like, unless you're going to have a costing system from 0 to 100 to give yourself that much more granularity, you know, anything from 3.0 to 3.999 costs 3, and the 3.0s are going to be better than the 3.999s, and the competitive players are going to find those cards. So even if the errata hammer comes down, you know, in 2 weeks for Romulans, it's just going to flip. I mean, I kind of feel like the reason 2014 was the year of the Romulan was because the errata hammer hit Borg and Klingon mass downloading, and all of a sudden Romulan became the best mass downloader.
Yeah,
and
I agree with
that
that.
draws a lot of people. There's a player type that loves big downloady decks. I know Stefan Slaby's one of them. It tends to be the more competitive player, and when you take away Borg Quintessence, when you take away Kimtar, Guidance of the Council, guess where you go? You go to Tal and Viceroy, and you take those out, and I don't know where you go next, but it doesn't matter.
Without those, I don't know where they go. I don't know where you go next.
But see,
Fuck.
you know, you could get into the philosophy of downloading. You know, is it good? Is it bad? I think downloading is a very useful tool for the game. You know, it's not that we'll never do downloading again, but it just got into a arms race. You know, the two things that led to like a bad arms race were prevent and overcome, and downloading, repeatable downloading, and those are going to get reined in one way or another. If only through the fact that we don't do them very much. I mean, how many cards downloaded in Return to Grace? Was there even one? I couldn't tell you offhand. I don't even think there was
I don't
one.
think so. You had Bajorans had their discard pile switching, but they've always been able to do that.
I don't know. I don't mean to get off topic, but it's just, you know, it's easy to say Romulans are overpowered. Romulans are overpowered, and I think maybe I don't think it's automatic, and it's somewhat unfortunate that the CC has a history of errata or ban hammering whatever wins, you know, on both 1E and 2E sides, and I, you know, it's not on purpose. It's not like, oh, this. I guarantee you, not once have I been to a meeting where it was, okay, this deck won Worlds, let's break it. That has never been discussed. It was more, you know, what's going on that this deck won Worlds in the game state. You know,
I don't think I'd say they're overpowered. I think that they're at, and I'm not going to say that they're the best deck, but they're certainly at the top of the curve right now. But there's always going to be a top of the curve, no matter how many cards you errata or ban or try to fix. There's always going to be something that's at the top.
Yeah, and if you get to the point where there isn't, where the game is so flat that there's not, everybody leaves the game. The game dies at that point. You know, there has to be a spectrum of good cards and bad cards in a CCG like this. You know, at the very least, so that people can recognize what the difference is. You know,
and there's going
to be the 1-star guy with, you know, honored leadership and officer with a staff star who's not as good as the ones, and 555 who's not as good as leadership security transporters with a staff star and 457. They're both cost 1, so in theory they're the same, but they're not, and that's just the way the game is always going to be. It's just the nature of a CCG, and
that's what brings the smarter and the more practiced players to the top is being able to find those cards that function just a little bit better or a little over the curve.
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and move on to first edition.
Seeing as Neil is here and he's been quiet for like an hour.
That's right. But yeah. Sum up. Yeah, Tobias was the winner. He earns a 2-round bye for Worlds, though he is not going. Stefan Slaby actually was the runner-up. Would earn a 1-round bye, except that he's already got a 2-round bye by being the reigning world champion. So the bye actually gets handed down to Julius Melhart, who placed 3rd. He was running a Starfleet deck. So congratulations to the 3 of them. And let's move on to first edition. So Neil, 10. You were there for this. 10 people. Well, you were there for 2E too. You ran 2E. Or you helped out with that one, right? You didn't play. You helped out with that one, huh? But yeah, you were competing in first edition. 10 players for this one, and
yes.
And you made day 2.
I've no idea how I managed that.
Don't sell yourself short.
For one thing, it was Europeans, and the Europeans are probably some of the best players out there. The caliber of the Germans and the Austrians is just unbelievable the way they play. And
oh, absolutely.
I don't know. I think I was probably just lucky that I managed day 2.
Now, what I put my notes together last week, so there's been a lot of deck lists that were added after the fact, and I haven't looked at all of them. What were you running? Because I don't have that listed.
I was running a Borg, but I've not the Borg decks that you normally see. I've kind of gotten sick of seeing they will be coming and 100 card draw decks with every single objective splashed into it.
60
I thought I'd try something different and just make a basic solver with 2 objective win, 0-1-0, and then assimilate homeworld. A couple of homeworlds. I've had 3 homeworlds in deck, so what I've done was I had 2, let's say, Gowron of Borgs and 2 Tomlak of Borgs, so whatever one I draw into first, I'd go for that homeworld. And then day 2, I just switched the counterparts.
Okay, so
I tested against Kazon and Borg because I had a funny feeling that Kazon would be quite heavy at this tournament, and lo and behold, there was 2 of them there. And
yeah, they did show up. I see that Patty was running Kazon. I don't know who the other one was.
Julius.
It was
Julius?
Merdhart, what's his name again? Clearasoul TOB. That's his name in the forums. That was actually my first round, and luckily, I tested heavily against Kazon, and he basically just went for me. And I managed to hold him back somehow to get at least 1 objective. There was a lot of timed wins at Continental, so I did notice that.
I can imagine with all the interaction decks going on there, the Borg and the Kazons, and yeah, I see some Dominion in there.
Yeah, I was looking through the deck list, and the amount of people using the interference interrupts, like loss of all stability and what does God needs a starship. They were in almost every deck.
Yeah.
Oh, when I was up against Stefan Slaby, he pulled off a beautiful move on me. During my turn, he played what does God need with Starship, I let him stop the ship, and then next turn, he'd done it again. I let him download a ship, so he downloaded the ISS Enterprise, and then hit my Borg field, and just started discarding like all of my Borg. Great move, and I didn't have a cube out at that time to blow it up, so I had to wait a couple of turns.
Oh wow!
But he managed to take out my 2 of 9, which is basically like, if you know one of your Borg, 2 of 9's the discard cyclone drone.
Yeah, it's one of the building blocks.
Yeah, so he took him out first, and then after that, I just had to rely on what I had, and still somehow managed to beat him. I've no idea how.
Wow. Well, yeah. Well, looking at the day one results, you seeded fourth, so you just barely got into day two. There, it was top four. Stefan, the other Stefan, was the top seed, followed by Julius and Peter Ludwig, and then you. I'm guessing, if I'm reading this right, you lost to Stefan in day two?
I lost to Stefan in day 2, yeah. He was playing Bajoran Resistance Cell, Maki, and Sona.
Yep.
And then I lost to him in a really close game. And then once day 1 was over, lo and behold, we got paired again for the semi-final.
And then Stefan lost to Peter Ludwig, who ended up taking the event, and he also had a heavy Maquis in his deck.
I loved his deck. The deck name alone, Das Terrorist Party, with 6 seeded computer crashes.
That was the first thing I
genius.
noticed when I looked at the deck list, was the 6 computer crashes.
It's one thing I tacked against at Continentals, because I noticed the Germans were playing a lot of computer crashes, so I played, I seeded that Borg drone that nullifies them. However, apparently, in day 1, Ludwig, with his 6 computer crashes, he was up against Stu Marsh, who was playing TNG Klingon, and obviously that relied on getting Gowron out in turn 1 to get the free plays.
Yep.
So whenever Stu tried to get Gowron, Peter Ludwig just flipped another computer crash.
Kept crashing.
For about 6 turns.
So the top 2 decks both ran some form of Maquis in there, and I think there was not a lot of going into this event. There had not been a lot of Maquis played at high level events, and I think at this one people started to see where it could be used as sort of an overlapping play engine as opposed to being run on their own.
Oh, I've been saying this.
Overlapping with Bajorans and Sona, some of the other free play engines. So I guess it remains to be seen if this type of deck is going to carry into Worlds.
Yeah, I'm just I'm putting up Ludwig's deck just now, and what does he have here? He's got 3 play engines. He's doing the reactor core with they call themselves Maki, not so demilitarized, and Bajoran Resistance Cell, but he's not doing the espionage downloads. Whereas Stefan in the finals, he stuck to the same deck, Sona. They call themselves Maki and Bajoran Resistance Cell.
Right.
Well, I imagine
see a reactor core cut on top.
Peter can't use those espionages with his 6 computer crashes. He's never going to get them.
Oh, no, he can't. I think, I think not so demilitarized that it doesn't allow you to download them anyway, so...
There you go.
You know, there's an interesting... In general, new cards don't really show up in competitive play, in high level play, for about 6 months. Typically, it takes 6 months for an expansion's release to make an impact. And if you look at 2E's most recent expansion, Return to Grace, some cards have been played as people have been trying it, but like at the competitive level, it hasn't been terribly relevant.
Yeah.
1E, for whatever reason, the Maquis, and I would say that was true of Emissary. Part of that was power level issue, but people just stayed away from Emissary for most of regional season and played TNG because it was safer and more familiar, and the new cards were scarier and took time to figure out. But the Maquis has shown up a lot, and I don't know if that's just because it's crazy powerful, or maybe 1E, or just maybe 1E players are more early adopters, or 2E players are just grumpier old men. Get off my lawn! I don't like change. But it's interesting that dichotomy exists. That Return to Grace coming up on 6 months is still somewhat lightly played at the high level. I do expect to see a good bit of it at Worlds. I think people were saving some stuff, but whereas the Maquis, not even a month out, maybe a little bit over a month out, seems to be showing up a good bit. So it's just interesting.
Just on the Continentals, and 2 of them were in the final.
Yeah. Yeah. So congrats to Peter Ludwig, who mastered it enough for a Continentals win. Ludwig. And to Stefan for being the runner-up. Congrats to both of them.
Oh yeah, his spec was amazing.
So that's European Continentals, and that completes all of the Continentals events. So we're ready. We're gonna move on. We've got next week this is it. This is the big event. This is the big World Championship event. We're finally ready to talk about Austin Powers.
You started this podcast just to make that joke, didn't you?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been saving that one for months.
3 months of regional season. Yeah.
He wrote it down in June and was like, "I can't wait to say this. I can't wait to say this."
Before we actually get into GenCon stuff, I thought I would surprise viewers. I actually have something else that was sent along from Nick. He has a 2nd edition spoiler for us. It's a card from the upcoming codename Project Martha. And Neil, I know you're not a 2E player, but there's something about this card that I think even you might get some enjoyment out of this.
Is it back
a Jaeger on it?
There's no Jaeger on it, no.
Oh.
Aww.
But I will tease and say that there's a new keyword on this card.
Sadly, no picture. But I don't think this guy is in 1E, is he? Did we lose Daniel?
We may have.
It's probably not good if we're live on his YouTube.
I think that's hilarious.
He's gone. It still says we're live. Is anybody watching in the chat room? Can you tell us if we're live?
Yeah, when this happened earlier with I think it was Jay that was on it. We just kept going. Like it still worked.
Are we live?
It's
I've
funny.
just posted up in the forums, so hopefully some. Oh, Dan thinks he's dropped with a question mark.
I don't think anybody can add him back to the call because he's in charge of the call.
Fail.
I want to see the spoiler.
We don't have the actual image.
Do you have it, or does Dan only have it? Because
I can get it. I don't have it.
Oh fuck! What if you get a different one than he gets?
I know which one he has. I
Live,
asked him before we started, so I know which one it is. Hang on, I'm getting there.
Are we actually live and we're all just swearing on air? Or at least I am.
Yeah, I don't care.
Live.
It says we're live.
Says Iron Mike.
Iron Mike says we're live.
Yeah.
I'd feel bad about continuing the podcast without the host.
Gooey Chewy, have a Jaeger as well. Who else
Someone
there?
smart enough to
Timmins.
add him to this?
No, we can't. He's in control. We may have to stop and restart, but that would be unfortunate. I don't want to talk about the spoiler. I don't want to co-opt his show here.
Just hijack it, Charlie.
Greg, you're the co-host.
I don't have the spoiler. I can't do it.
He's working on it.
All right, we'll just vamp for a minute. I'll tell you what. I'll bring up the spoiler. So I don't think this guy appears in 1E. I think this is his first appearance in any 2E set, in any set at all.
Dan Madison joined his own video call. That's good to know.
Hey, he's back.
Yay!
All right. I think, Dan, if you want, I can...
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have an image I can bring up. There's no picture, but I can bring up the card itself.
Yeah, I did not have an image. I only had text.
Well,
But,
I will assist, and let's see if this works.
Yeah, if
Thunder.
you'd like to bring it up, I will read it.
Before I do that, let me ask the panel to make a guess. I want to make sure he's not in the game before I say that.
Okay.
Oh, this guy is in the game. Wait, no, this is the wrong guy. Wow, I was just about to spoil the wrong card.
Oh, okay.
I told you you were going to do that.
This guy is not already in the game in either edition.
Yes, this guy is not in the game in either edition. All right.
You're sure?
He's not in the game in either edition. This particular character has 2 keywords, one of which is new, and one of which is already gameplay relevant in first edition. Anybody want to take a guess?
Ooh.
Run that by me again. 2
all right,
keywords.
It's a personnel. Has never appeared in either version of the game.
Shit.
He has 2 keywords, one of which is new, and that new keyword is a gameplay relevant term in first edition.
Oh.
What color is he?
And I'll say that Neil is going to like this card, I think. And I'll leave it at that.
I think it could probably. No, I don't know.
All right,
2
I'll give you
keywords,
another clue. The keyword in question was a broken link. At one point in its life in first edition, it was a broken link. It was a broken link for a while.
Oh, I think I know who it is. Is it Dexter Remick?
Oh, wild.
That's a good guess, but Dexter Remick is a first edition card.
Yeah.
Who's the?
Yeah.
Maybe I got his name wrong. Who's the TNG guy who has the thing come out of his mouth?
That's Remick.
That's Remick.
Bluegills.
That is right. Shit.
It's a bluegill.
Did somebody say bluegill? Because
I said
Oh, yeah.
bluegill. We're bringing bluegills to 2E.
we got a bluegill. Bam.
So, yes. So there we are. We have a Federation
What's that?
personnel. His name is Gregory Quinn, Alien Courier. He is, of course, unique. He is he is a 3-cost human Federation personnel with a command star and an Earth icon. He has the following skills: archaeology, biology, leadership, and treachery. He is an admiral. He is a bluegill. That is the new keyword.
Good.
And his text reads, when your bluegill personnel present is about to be killed, you may stop that personnel and discard a bluegill personnel from hand to prevent that. And,
See that old guy on that episode who tries to stick the bug in somebody's ear?
Yep.
Yeah,
He's
the old admiral that throws war.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like you're gonna
His
Charlie,
attributes are
you're making more
3.
cards that Freed's gonna have to put stickers over.
No, wait, hold on. Isn't this the dude that like kicked Worf's ass, or is that
Yes.
something else?
Yep.
It is the
Yes.
guy that threw Worf through a door in one of the most. This is one of those like so awesomely bad first season episodes.
Yeah.
You know, Worf gets thrown through a door, and his line of lore is one of my favorite lines.
Yep.
It's one of the best deliveries of a line ever, because it's like, it won't like your science officer. It does like you.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And his attributes are integrity 3, cunning 7, strength 5.
You'd think he'd have more strength if he could throw off.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well,
I'm guessing there'd probably be a bluegill event or something that buffs them up.
I'm showing
Okay,
random
that's
things
all.
that I shouldn't be showing.
You may kill Worf.
I've clicked off of your screen, Charlie.
Oh, okay.
There
There it is.
So
There you go.
there was a collector number on the bottom. That is, of course, subject to change, as Martha is not yet finalized, but it looked like it was 31v37.
So, can I don't know how much you want to talk about this card, but this is like, there are hints of all sorts of themes that will show up in Project Martha on this card. I'll just, I can get into it more maybe at another time, but
Well, I think you've mentioned that that DS9 Earth is one of the affiliations that's supposed to take a big bump in the next set.
well, yeah. So Martha, incidentally, if you'd like to know more, and you have an ambassador in your area, talk to them. Also, go to GenCon. You might find out more.
Nice double plug there, Charlie.
Yes.
Speaking of GenCon,
But yeah, this expand, Return to Grace was Bajorans and Cardassians, and this one is Tarak Nor and DS9 Earth. And DS9 Earth to date is probably one of the hardest things I've designed for. It took us a long time to sort of figure out Earth, and if I knew then what I knew now, I would have stayed away from this as our second Phase 2 set, because there's so much overlap between these two headquarters in particular. Because Earth Icon has to be something that can appear at DS9 Earth or TNG Earth, and then so DS9 Earth has to represent Federation as a whole, DS9 Fed, and then Earth Fed, and it has to have elements of all three of those to combine into a unique experience. And Tarak Nor has to be Dominion flavored and Cardassian flavored and Bajoran flavored, and Ferengi flavored, and then has to combine into a unique experience. And I think we delivered on that. It's just, for whatever, the Earth one took a really long time. And once we kind of hit upon what they were going to do, we wanted to do something TNG-ish too. And so this guy has an Earth icon, but there's a TNG element to... I'll just say that bluegills never showed up in DS9, at least until you read the books.
Obviously, that's a TNG. Yeah, they're definitely in the books, in the expanded stuff.
This card is like... There are so many hints of the themes that are going on in this expansion, but it's like it's one of the least relevant cards theme-wise in the whole expansion. So even there's hints of the different themes that show up, but it's the TNG little group, the bluegill little group is, I wouldn't call it a big part of the set.
Well, it certainly hints that there are possibly other bluegill cards in the set, and so that's the beginning of a theme. But yeah, because it's an Earth card, but it's a TNG card, that you're right. That doesn't really speak to us about what we're getting specifically for DS9 Earth. Sure, DS9 Earth can play this, but this doesn't really speak to their theme being a TNG episode.
I will tell you this, just as one last... I turned my spoiler off. One last bit is the play styles, the types of players that will be drawn to the Terok Nor mechanics that we've created, and the types of players that will be drawn to the DS9 Earth mechanics we created are like about as far apart as they could be, but still on the same spectrum. Like, it's not quite speed versus interaction spectrum, but more on the ways we interact spectrum. It's they're going to be strong emotions about these two sets of cards from subsets of the community.
I think we get strong emotions about every set these days, Charlie.
Yes, this is. I'm trying to just to phrase this without giving away something I'm not allowed to give away. There are going to be people that love what's going on and people that hate what's going on, and they will probably both be vocal. So just be open-minded.
In other news, the world is round.
Yes.
So get your soapbox ready, Chris, Greg.
I'm too old to bitch about cards.
I like anything new. If you can make a new deck, especially if you can make Terok Nor, like I've played Terok Nor once and it was so boring.
What? I've only lost one game with Terok Nor. I
wasn't saying I didn't.
Well, I mean,
I was saying I didn't win. They're boring. They've got nothing, like no good mechanics. It's just play and attempt. I don't like that.
Terok Nor is, to date, it's like it's a one-trick pony. It's not really, because they have the whole dissident option, but it's not strong in the modern era.
Sure.
You know, so I don't know that. I mean, the new thing, the real problem with Terok Nor is I don't think Terok Nor should really exist.
Nope.
Being limited, limiting your source material to 6 episodes is not a strong basis for a.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Given the limitations that we have there, I'm pretty proud of what we come up with. I think that at the end of the day, you're going to end up with 3 different viable Terok Nor builds. That's including dissidents. Their viability will change as the game state changes.
Yeah, that's what I meant. They're like you said, they're one trick at the moment. And whereas like I've played Romulan a lot, and I've got distance, you got Solvage, you got the interaction, you got battle and capture. Romulans can pretty much do anything in the game, whereas Terok Nor to me is just way more boring.
Well, they're gonna get at least another big option. And I will say this: when we were designing, we came up with. We have future plans for Terok Nor that expands their available card pool and mechanical options. We were going to do it in this set, and we realized it didn't really fit here. So, but it's ready to go for a future day. So, long-term thinking-wise, there's more for Terok Nor to come. So,
all right.
More different. So,
definitely looking forward to seeing what the next set brings. So let's talk about GenCon. The main reason we're all here.
Austin Powers.
Yes, Austin Powers. That's happening too. But so GenCon, Indianapolis is the site of our World Championships this year, and of course GenCon touts itself as the biggest 4 days in gaming. Of course, here at Trek CC, we're not content with just 4 days, and we've expanded it into 5. We are.
Yeah, why not, right? We're like
right.
Half the people are going to be there Wednesday night. We might as well do something. So.
Mm-hmm. So we've of course got World Championships in all 3 events. We've got a couple dozen side events going on. There's pretty much something for everybody on every day of the events. But yeah, we're starting Wednesday night. There are a couple of side events taking place in both first and second edition, and of course the largest event for Wednesday night is going to be the WCT Championship League event, where qualifying players, that's anybody with at least 50 lifetime league points, can enter into a single elimination bracket 2E event. I think this is for a 2-round bye at 2E Worlds.
Indeed, it's equivalent to a continental championship. So.
So it's sort of a last chance sort of event for getting a major head start at Worlds on Friday, Saturday, Friday,
Friday.
TUI Worlds is Friday.
Friday morning. Yeah. Uh, and there's I think about 21 players that are lined up for this event.
Man, that's like the one tournament I didn't. I was like, oh, I'll open up the championships and see who's registered because we'll talk about those.
I'm gonna mostly talk about the championships, but I wanted to touch on this real quick because it does affect the buy picture.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So a couple people have dropped out.
I dropped. I don't know who else did.
I was the other one because I'm sorry, Rainbow Sealed sounded like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's money, right? $10 for all those cards. That's really good.
Yeah.
I mentioned that. I mentioned that to Freed. Freed said.
Booster packs.
What did you say, Neil?
Where did that guy get that much Blaze of Glory
I have
booster
no
packs?
idea.
No idea. I actually I checked with him today. He says he's doing just fine on product. So
What?
yeah, he says he
It's like
can
the most
support as many as 16.
I feel like I would pay twice that amount, and it would still be worth it.
I think you're absolutely right.
Maybe even 3 times that amount.
You're absolutely right. But you know what? He said that this is GenCon and this is Worlds and this is this is 20th anniversary. This is kind of a big deal, and he wanted to do something special.
That's awesome.
Good on him. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that one.
That's fantastic. That's going to be a lot of fun. So for players that are in that side event and don't know what we're the people that don't know what we're talking about, that is a 1E side event where players are going to get an OTS D box and 1 pack of every single first edition release from Premiere all the way to the motion pictures, including the rarer stuff, the DS9, the Blaze of Glory, Reflections, all of it. 1 pack of everything. And that's going to be their card pool. That's crazy chaotic, and it's going to be so much fun opening all those cards.
Only concern I have is that he's going to shorten those rounds because of time constraints, but shit, I don't care.
Yeah.
I think it's more about opening the product and
Yeah, exactly. Like to
Exactly.
me,
I'm getting
something
excited.
wonky. Playing the actual games is more. There's a joke out here that
It's secondary.
we did a draft this past Sunday and we finished the draft and everybody's like, well, the fun part's over.
The person that opens up the Kirk or the Dixon Hill or the crazy ultra rare is going to freak out at the beginning, and that's going to be the fun part for them, Getting back to the league event, there are 21 players. This is single elimination, so it's gonna not exactly the modified McIntyre, but it's gonna kind of feel like a day 2 event. So do you think people are going to be bringing the same types of decks they would bring to a day 2?
I maybe some people. I think this is the event that a lot of people are just going to be like, I'm just going to play. I think they're going to play their second choice deck. Like, they're going to be like, this is the deck I'm planning on playing for day 1. This is the deck I'm going to play for day 2. And the deck that I almost wanted to play, but I didn't for whatever reason, they'll play here. I think you'll get some types of players that are going to be like, my buddy Brian Sykes. I love Brian. You're awesome, but I think he's going to like overanalyze the bracket to death and build a specific deck for this. And more power to him. I hope it works. But then I think you get a player like, I imagine Chris, if you had stayed in it, you probably would have just bought something fun that you like playing.
I would have probably played Riker Sword.
Yeah, but I think you're going to get that spectrum of like, if I want to apologize to everybody for leaving this off the schedule as my bad that it wasn't scheduled properly. If I had known when I set this up that it was going to be this.
Well, yeah.
My hands are kind of tied by what the WCT event is supposed to be, so I'm hoping that this can be redefined moving forward. And especially, I want to offer one for first edition too. But if I'd known we were going to get 20 people, I probably would have just made it like we're going to play Swiss, and the winner gets a bye. You know?
Well, that's what I mean to say. Like, no offense to Michael Van Bremen, but last year this event was 5 players and it was a draft. I mean, it was easy to overlook it this year when no one played in it last year.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering. I was talking about what people might bring. I think also this is a good opportunity for those people in here to sort of test the waters, play a deck that they might want to take to Worlds, and just kind of see how it does, or maybe get a look at some other players and get a sense of what kind of decks they're bringing and what kinds of decks they're thinking about.
I think this is deck list required. I need to probably double check that, but at the very least, we're going to get affiliations from everybody and put them up, if not that night, the very first thing the next day, so that people can see what everybody was playing.
Yeah. So
you have time because 2E Worlds is a day later, right?
Yeah. So a way to get some early strategy in there, and of course the big question is. What happens if Neil wins? Does it just go down to second?
I believe the bye is not transferable for this.
Okay.
I believe if Neil wins, then he just spoiled it for everybody else.
I would think you would eat it. You just eat the bye.
Which I would argue that if that's really the only reason for this tournament existing, I would argue that there should probably be a rule that if you already have the bye, you're not eligible.
Yeah.
I would argue that Neil shouldn't be able to play. I mean, he can't. There's no rule against it, so he can.
Right.
And it sounds like he's going to play and then drop, based on what he's saying, which is a different issue. Again, he's entitled to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I, as I understand it, if Neil wins, that's it. It doesn't pass down. So
I'm okay with that. I think if you win the Continentals and you don't want someone else to have the advantage, you should be able to deny it to them by playing well and winning.
Yeah.
There is that aspect to it. Yeah, in denying someone else a bye, it's possibly keeping a top competitor away from you.
Yeah.
Well, and saying that he's going to play and then drop is kind of a little bit arrogant. I mean, there's no saying he doesn't lose.
That's very true.
Oh, sure, yeah.
No, the way I read that, what he posted though, was that he's not sure if Maggie's tournament is actually going to happen, so he's going to stay registered for both. And if Maggie's does go ahead, he'll drop before it even starts.
Is it not is there nobody pre-registered? As far as I knew, that was already set. So
I pulled out of that one because of the one event, and I think Maggie's registered for hers by herself with just Neil.
That's a fair point. I mean, I guess if nobody else wants to play, then I imagine there's going to be people that are going to want to play it. So
I think what's going to happen is I think after the play-in rounds end and the first few people drop out, then maybe Maggie will try to get some people and start it then from the people that have been eliminated. And that way, if people want to keep playing some 2E, then they can keep going.
Yeah, that's
the tournament. Which, if people want to keep playing, that's seems a good way to do it.
Well, and like you said, the 2E exclusive players don't really have anything to get up for Thursday morning.
That's true, yeah, except for side events. But they don't have Worlds the next day.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So
we have the venue till 3 a.m. So it's not like they need to. It's not like we have to be out at a certain time. Like I'm not staying up till 3 a.m. But
no,
the venue is available. So.
Timmons will shut the place down playing Maggie 6 times if he has to.
Yeah.
Just how he is.
So that's Wednesday night. Thursday will be First Edition Worlds Day 1. This is this 5 rounds, Charlie? Or is tentatively 5 rounds?
Yeah. It is 5 to 6 rounds based on numbers. I think right now it was 24.
It was 25 when I last looked.
25, I'm pretty sure puts it at 6.
Yeah. Over 24 puts it at 6, right?
Yeah.
Come on, Chris, you know you want a marathon. 6 rounds.
I mean, 6 rounds of 1E is roughly equivalent to 8 of 2E time-wise, so that's about right.
Yeah.
I would assume. I would
brain hack.
It's you're assume that your brain is going to be a pile of goo at the end of the day. So
I'm looking at the players that are pre-registered for First Edition Worlds, and we have four world champions that are registered for this event, including the last two. Last year's defending champ, Stefan Slaby, is pre-registered for this. Ken Tufts, Michael Van Bremen, and David Bowling, of course, who is a 3-time world champion, will be back for this event. And as for the bye situation, Stefan, of course, has that 2-round bye already. And Michael Van Bremen has a 1-round bye from placing second in North American Continentals. So he'll get a little break as well.
Yeah. I mean, look at these players. There's freaking 3 of the top 10, 5 of the top 20.
Yeah.
And then there's me.
12 or 13 people above 1,600. 1, 2, 3, 4.
A lot of very
5.
talented players, and like you said, 4 world champions, and actually, and the top-rated player pre-registered is not one of those, and that's Ryan Sutton.
Yeah. This is going to be amazing to watch, and I am going to run around all day trying to look up stupid rules about stasis and dumb things that you never come up except in it's like you're like, what happens if I commandeer the Phoenix with the Board Queen and Captain K-Bach and
and
look, I got 6 days to learn.
I love
from front to back.
I love 1E. This game is effing ridiculous. It is so ridiculous.
I think
Charlie, if I go back in time and punch the whales in the head, I'm gonna have to call you over to watch it.
No, I'm just waiting for like.
Only in First Edition can you do crap
I'm
like
waiting
that.
for Altonian Brain Teaser and the whales, and my like In the Zone is gonna make my head explode because I hate that card.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to be ahead in a game before I get that, so I don't know how that card works.
Yeah. Now I am not playing in this event because I'm actually assisting you, Charlie.
Yes, you're my minion.
I will be helping you out. So I think I'm going to be running around with a rule book in hand and the glossary and.
Well, we've got a really nice.
In the First Edition Worlds, I had to have Kim Logie come over and unwind an entire action and then redo the whole thing because the guy I was playing it thought it was illegal. Like, that's just not right. Like, actually, you're dead. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure I could get a PhD in the glossary and still not understand everything in it. Just like I could spend 7 years studying this book and write a dissertation on it and not understand First Edition.
And there will be times like that, you know, in every, and even, you know, from the locals all the way up to the top, there's going to be those strange situations that come up where you're going to check the book and the answer isn't apparent, and you know you're on a time crunch and you're just going to have to make a call and move on. It happens. Yeah. The 1E rulebook is just
and
insane.
You know, not that it's ever been a problem, but remember, you know, if the TD makes a call, that's the call, whether it's an assistant judge or the head judge, and it can be discussed after the round. And if a mistake gets made, it was made, you know, honestly and without malice. And you know, if it needs to be corrected, it needs to be corrected. But just to everybody, not just First Edition players, but yeah.
So what you're saying is Neil and I have to bribe Daniel.
Nah, and see some of these matchups, and I think I'm gonna be the guy live tweeting and just calling out matchups like, oh my god, Ken's paired with so and so this round, and
I wish Kevin was coming to this.
Jaeger?
Yeah.
Well, Jaeger.
I think he proved his point this year quite well.
But I mean, like, it's so close, and I understand he can't go, but it would just be like
Kevin rampaged through regional season and then also took Continentals. Yeah, he would be a heavy favorite if he were here.
Yep.
He
But it's
owes me a
I just stayed out of his way. I kind of.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long day filled with many glorious battles and point losses. But
There might be some tears.
Yeah. But in the end, it's going to be, I think, top 8 going on to day 2 on Saturday.
Unless we get to, like, it's going to be top 8, period. You know, in the past we used to do, you know, above this number it's top 16, below this number it's top 8. It's just going to be top 8, and you know the tiebreakers are solid enough that if it's, you know, if it's muddy around, and it always does get muddy around, you know, 8 through 12, it'll get shaken out, and it's top 8, so it's going to cut to top 8 who will compete.
You know, it's that much more. It's that much more incentive to bring a deck that you know is going to get you full wins and not slow enough to get modified wins. Every point has to count.
Yep. I mean, I look at that board simulator that a lot of people are playing, and it's like, good luck with your time game, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you know you're going into it knowing the format. So. You know what you're fighting for. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I mean, like, just one last look at this roster. It's like the old and the new guard all thrown together. I mean, it's like you got Ryan Sutton, who's relatively new, Stefan Slaby, who, I mean, I think he used to play, but
you
know, he's more of a newer player. Derek Marsh is new. And there's a lot of new players on here, but then you get into, like, it's a who's who of who's played 1E, and you know there hasn't been a physical card for this game in 10 years, 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this game is turning 20, and this is a Hall of Fame list of players playing on this roster. That's impressive.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes back to David Bowling, who not only is a 3-time world champion, but he was Decipher's first world champion.
Yeah.
He won nationals in the first year. That was 96?
Yeah, 96 or 97. I think it was 96.
I know that.
Remember reading.
Well, you can't overlook Jason Drake either. You want to talk about old school? Their medal was.
Oh yeah.
Seattle was the hotbed of first edition in the late 90s, and then Minnesota kind of took it over when Mike won in 99.
Didn't mean to skip Jason there, yeah, but there's old and new playing in this tournament, and it's wow. 2 generations of bowlings too. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And I see I see that you guys are bringing JD along.
Yeah, he's coming to his first GenCon. He's super excited.
That's awesome.
He's got a huge roster of stuff that he wants to do. And you know what? I'll tell you right now. There's people I know are coming that aren't on this pre-reg list. So this is a.
I was gonna ask you, is Dan planning on playing in any of these?
I would assume. I know Rogue's planning on playing at least 1E. I would assume Dan's gonna play at least a little bit of it. There's. I mean, this could be 40 people. This could be 40 people.
What about Chris Castagneto? I don't even know if I'm saying his last name right, but
I don't know if he's going this year. I know he had a kid in the past year.
He was the runner-up last year at GenCon, right? For
he crashed GenCon.
Yeah, he won 2 years ago and was the runner-up last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's currently the highest-ranked player too in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a couple NorCal guys coming that might. You know, I think there's a lot of people that are going to play that aren't on this list. It would not surprise me if we hit 40 people for first edition, which is.
Dan Hammond
crazy.
is not.
Crazy.
Dan Hammond is not registered for either Worlds. Rogue Schindler is not registered for either Worlds. Sean O'Reilly is not registered for either Worlds, and he's going. So.
I mean, I could pull up the room block list, but there's a lot of people I think that are going to play in this that aren't registered. So like Amber might play. You know, it's going to be crazy and scary and awesome. So,
and that's just first edition. So Friday is second edition Worlds, day 1, and at the time that I looked, there were and Neil is playing first edition.
That's what I said. There's all these great players. There's all these great players, and then there's me.
And then there's Neil.
And Neil.
Nah,
Well, I think Neil's pretty good. I think Neil's better than me.
sorry.
Neil's very good. Neil's very good. Yeah.
It
Can't
depends on
count
the
him
deck.
out.
If I work hard in a deck, then it works out fine. But I normally just make decks and mess around and have fun. But, you know. But I was going to say, I need to get ready for work, guys. So I'll need to love you and leave you all.
Oh.
All right.
Have a good one, sir.
All right. Thank you,
Oh,
Neil.
by the way, Chris,
Yeah.
my friend has given me a shot of his kilt, and it
Oh.
doesn't weigh that much. Boom!
Great.
Can
All
in a
right.
Kilt Wednesday night.
We will
see you
see you
all.
there.
I will
Hi.
go the opposite direction.
Thank you, Neil.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me on. Take
All
care.
right.
See you next week, boys.
Good luck next
World!
week, Neil.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's talk. Let's talk 2E so I don't keep you guys up all night. When I checked this list this morning, there were 31 players pre-registered, and again, I think this is a list that's going to go a lot higher.
It looks like 32 right now, but I might have miscounted. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it's going to go
counted this
higher.
morning. Yeah, I can think of several others that are probably going to join this list.
Matt's not on there, I don't think. I think he was a donkey and didn't pre-register.
Who's that?
Matt Curtin.
Oh yeah.
I don't
It's
think
32 right now.
Yeah, Dan Hospice, another one. He was saying on Corbett's show just before he's playing, but he's not registered.
No, he's on there. He must have been the one that registered today then.
So he must have jumped on, yeah. Sean,
But,
Sean's
like-
not, Sean told me he was playing in one of them and not the other, but I don't remember which one he was.
Typically, we get 10 to 15 more than we get on the pre-registration list, which puts us about 40 for 1E and 45
I
to
think
50
we
for
had
2E.
I think we had 40 for GenCon last year. Or maybe was that Tribbles that had 40? It was Tribbles that had 40.
Tribbles had 40.
Yeah.
We've been in 2E's been 1E's been climbing and 2E's been pretty steady at the low to mid 30s.
Yeah.
We're at that point pre-regged for 2E this year, so it's clearly going to be a bigger dance than Continentals, but
Yeah.
as I would expect that. So
Well, it is Worlds. And looking at the pre-registered list so far, there are 3 players going in that have some form of earned buy. Charlie, how many rounds is this going to be?
6 to 8, leaning towards 8.
6 to 8. Oh,
The full
that
amount.
that's gonna be a grind. We have Stefan Slaby again. He is the dual world championship this year. He's defending both of his titles. He goes in to Worlds with a 2-round bye intact. Neil Timmons also with a 2-round bye, and he is the top rated of the pre-registered players right now. He goes in with a 2-round bye for his North American Continentals win, and then of course Michael Van Bremen gets a 1-round bye as last year's Worlds runner-up.
Is Nate Weiniger on here? Is he going? I haven't
He's
seen
not.
anything from him. He's not going? Yeah.
Nah,
I
he
was
said
gonna
that's
say,
like-
yeah, he's on the bye winners list
Yeah.
as well for runner-up at Continentals, yeah. Let's see, looking at, I see 3 world champions on this list. You got Stefan, you've got Neil, and Mike Harrington.
Yeah, top 3 is not top 3 all former world champions. That's
Yep.
pretty expected. But I mean, you got some runner-ups here too. I mean, I think Johannes was a runner-up.
MBB, Michael.
Michael was. I'm pretty sure Tyler was. I don't know if Brian ever did. Jeffrey Peterson was a runner-up.
There was
Cool,
Jeffrey Martin, yep.
Yeah. John's
Or
always.
was Corbett just runner up Continentals maybe?
Yeah, but he's he's been up there in big event. I mean, just seriously, like if you just run into the top 10 names, it's like some of the scariest good players I've ever played. I haven't played everybody on this list, but
It's just the top 11 are all ranked in the top 20. So you got 11 of the top 20.
yeah, that's if over half of the top 20 is coming to your tournament, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be those first round pairings, the luck of the shuffle is that it's going to be insane, because
these are great players from top to bottom. This is a stacked event.
yeah, but if you run into a situation where like Tyler plays someone like me, for example, he is going to have a lot easier road than if Tyler gets paired against Chris or Jared in the first round. You know, it's amazing that first round what it can do to a player. You know.
Well, if you play 8 rounds though, you'll be if you play a tough opponent in the first round and you drop and you fall into the mid card soup for the next 2-3 rounds, you can be off in the side tables playing players who also lost. I don't think it's going to matter. As long as you don't lose, don't have a banana peel match where you lose to somebody who's like a 1,400 player. You should be okay.
Well, if this is going to, also
advancing is what, like 40%?
This is 8 rounds, and the top 16 are going on to day 2. If you lose your first round, there is plenty of opportunity for you to get yourself back into it.
Yeah.
Well, if we assume nobody else shows up and it's just these 32, there's somebody at 4 and 4 is going in.
That's 50% chance. Yeah.
So somebody at 4 and 4 is going to make the top 16. Now I think we're going to end up more than that. So 4 and 4 becomes like a maybe at a 16. But
yeah.
You can lose at least 3 games and still qualify for day 2, and that it does take the edge off of like, oh, I got Mike Harrington in the first round, that sucks. I'll just have a good. Mike is an awesome guy to play. I'll have fun.
I'm gonna punch you if I have to. You pair me with Mike or Nat, I'm just gonna rage quit, flip the table, and walk back to the hotel.
Makes it sound so easy. You can lose 3 and still qualify, but that means you have to win 5.
No, I'm not trying to belittle the effort of anybody, but it's like it's the good counterpoint of if I get a shitty first round pair, pardon my language, if I get a bad first round pair, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world, and it does put a lot of power on those buys, because you dodge that.
Well, and you knowing Timmons, he's not even going to use it. He'll just want to play.
It's true.
Possibly, yeah.
Speaking of the buys, is Slabby staying in the room block or what?
He's not booked in the room block, so he is
not.
I'm not about to say that he's the type of guy who would pre-register and not show up, but I don't know of anyone who's heard of him coming for sure, like where he's staying or anything.
Well, that would be a pretty epic troll.
That would be such a bummer.
We've spent at least 5 minutes on this podcast talking about him, and then he doesn't show up at all. So
that's right.
Is that the reverse Neil Timmons? It's the whole Neil doesn't pre-register for everything and comes to it all. This is I'm going to pre-register for it and not come to any of it. So.
I think you know a troll who does that, Charlie.
Possibly.
Well, we haven't really. This show's been pretty long already, and we haven't really gotten into what types of decks are going to get played for 1E or 2E. But I do want to throw out there that for those listening, that Charlie has started some threads in the organized play forums, some speculative threads about 1E and 2E and tribbles, also to speculate on what types of decks you think are going to make an appearance and what types of decks are perhaps going to stand out or be a surprise to people. So that's the place to start talking about what you're looking for, what you think you're going to see. But that's 2E, and that's going to be a heck of an event. That one I will be playing in, and
yes, Maggie will be my minion that day, I believe. So
I'm going to be jealous of Maggie.
Sounds good.
Maybe Maggie is my minion on Saturday. I may be minionless that day.
You're going to have to judge 40-some players by yourself?
Hey, I've done that before.
Oh.
Look, I used to do GenCon with nobody helping me except maybe my buddy Steve. Now I have staff, and we have a headquarters table this year. We're all like,
you're
awesome.
official and shit.
Yeah. That's gonna be cool.
Do you want? In all seriousness, Charlie, do you want some of the other TDs who are playing in Worlds to score cards for you if they're?
I will probably draft people to.
Okay.
for like second opinions and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm sure
We did that last year.
there's plenty of other TDs that are in the event that
Yeah.
would be able to help. Yeah.
I mean, we have somebody at our headquarters table all the time, so it's not so much the scoring cards that I'm worried about. It's just, I don't want people to be waiting 5 minutes to get a ruling, and
Right.
Okay.
we should be fine.
Yeah.
We'll play it by ear. And in general, I will say this: in general, there's much fewer rules questions in 2E than 1E.
Yeah, there is that.
It's
I
just
mean, if nothing else, maybe you can designate a couple of alternates, for an event. Like if somebody has like a quick rule question, that just like find whoever of the alternates is closest to you.
Yeah, that's how we do it at Australian Continentals. Like this, whoever's organising, you got the head TD, and then they just name 2 other people, and then spread them out across the table. So if anyone has a question, there's someone close by.
yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine Tyler would be a good choice for that.
Sure.
So we'll figure it out. We'll take it.
So that's Friday, and both day 2 for both events is Saturday. I think we've got first edition in the morning and then second edition in the afternoon.
Yeah, and in theory, the first edition will be done before second edition starts. In practice, that might not be the case. I tried. Like, this is the best I could do. Like, to get one of the top requests is
People want to have that
schedules.
dream
the dream of
being
winning
a
all
winner.
3. Yeah. And this is the best I could do without putting one of the day 2s on Sunday. And there's so many people that leave Sunday that felt really unfair.
Yeah.
So this is the best I can do. We'll play it by ear. I think the odds of another double winner like last year aren't. The odds of that happening are pretty low.
It's unlikely,
think-
but people love that it's possible.
Yeah.
Double winner might not be, it's unlikely, right? But the person be in the 1E final, but also qualifying for 2E is possible. And even if they get knocked out in the first round of 2E, they could, Ken could very easily be in the 1E final and qualify for 2E.
Yep. And we'll cross that bridge if it happens. So.
Yeah.
I think that's when you just say you got to make a choice. You want to win Worlds of one game, or do you want to jump into the top 8, 16, or whatever the other one?
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine that's why you pick alternates. But I imagine if Ken's playing in the top table at 1E Worlds and has to choose, it's pretty obvious what he'd pick. So.
1E is Ken's game anyway. So,
Here's an example. I mean, of course, Chris is possible. Johannes could definitely do both. So.
I'm on the top one now.
I'm not going to have for me.
So, we always, if everybody shows up early, too, for 1E, we can start it early and then minimize that chance. So.
Yeah.
Early, sure. Good luck with that.
So that's Saturday, both day 2s, and then Sunday is World Championship for Tribbles. And 24, last I checked, we're currently pre-registered. Traditionally, a lot of people that pre-register for high-level events forget to pre-register for Tribbles, so it's very possible a lot of people are staying into Sunday and have not yet pre-registered. But it's also possible some people are going to leave early. I mean, we did not have as many players last year for Continentals in 1E or 2E as we did for Tribbles. So this is like the one event where everyone who's still hanging around can just jump in and throw down and have some fun.
Well, there's at least one guy coming from San Diego who will only play Tribbles. And last year we had 2 random people show up looking to burn generic event tickets.
Is that you, Charlie?
No, that's not me. Last year we had 2 people walk up wanting to burn generic event tickets. We taught them how to play. They played, and one of them made the top table.
I remember that. Yep.
So it's like,
'Cause I was at my table.
who knows what happens with this? It could be, we get a lot of, like last year we had a lot of girlfriends, spouses show up to play Tribbles that didn't play anything else. It's Sunday afternoon and a lot of people are looking for something to do, so they'll come and play, and it's It could easily draw. It could draw a lot of people.
As for the buy situation, it's actually the head start situation for Tribbles. Ken Tufts is the reigning Tribbles world champion. He goes in with a 200,000 head start, and Will Hoskin is coming in fresh off his Continentals win last week. He will also get a 200,000 head start. If Stefan plays in Tribbles, then he has 100,000 from being runner-up at European Continentals. If Nat Curtin plays, he won North American Continentals. He would have a 200,000 head start.
Yeah, Nat'll be there. He's already told me that he's playing in that. In fact, that's why we're staying. Our group is staying for Tribbles, even though it'll be a late night getting home. Jeremy and Nat both wanted to play in it. Mike and I might not. I don't know. We'll see.
It's a good time to walk the floor, if nothing else.
Yep.
Well, for me, it's all about is my brain even functioning anymore after day one, and then.
But that's why it's Tribbles, because you don't need your brain to function.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm. You're right, but I actually am a fan of the outside, so I may or may not even be on the.
I don't know what that is.
Daystar Burns.
A lot of people don't.
And of course, plenty of side events happening all 4 days. If you aren't in Worlds, or if it's not your game that day, or if you didn't qualify for day 2, plenty of other things going on. There's OTF, there's 2E Standard, there's team tournaments going on, all kinds of crazy events. Even running a couple of side events Sunday night. For those that are staying the extra night and flying back out on Monday, 1E is running. That's one that I'm running, where we're doing some Voyager Warp Speed with Voyager, Borg, and Holodeck Adventures, a little bit of each. So, and 2E I think is running Standard Orbit on Sunday night. So. Yep. So for those that are kicking around and want to jump into something else, that's going to be back at Granite City, where we are doing the Wednesday night events. Granite City, do I have that right? That's called?
Yeah, Granite City.
What's the prize for the big team tournament?
You'll find out then.
Seeing as I have like 9 people who want to play on my team.
Yeah.
It is not a physical object, but it is something that is often coveted.
And of course the Cool Tournament Sunday morning, also going down for first edition.
I have one of my last minute goals on this weekend is to put my Cool deck together.
I've got one. It's not going to win, but it's
the real question is,
to build.
Do I want to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, which is traditionally the Charlie sleeps for the first time all weekend time of the tournament?
Right.
But I have a really interesting deck that I really want to play, so I may drag myself out of bed for it, just to give the experience to other people.
Oh yeah, sounds good. So yeah, all kinds of events happening. 4 days, 5 days altogether. So that's GenCon. That's next week. So if you're coming out, then we are looking forward to seeing you there and playing a lot of Trek and not getting much sleep.
Nobody goes to GenCon to sleep, so.
That's right. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. It has been a long show. We had a lot to discuss, and I want to thank everybody that joined me on the panel today. Neil Matthew, who had to duck out early. Chris Sonstaby, thanks for doing the show.
Thanks for having me.
And looking forward to seeing you there. Charlie, of course, thanks for coming back.
Yep, long overdue for bedtime for me though. So.
And for Greg Dillon, of course, this is Daniel Madison ending transmission, and we'll see you at Worlds.